Welcome to the frontline, where history comes to life. The year is 1816, and the hills of southeastern Africa are already burning. Rival clans raid each other's cattle at dawn, warriors crash together in swirling dust, and assassins slip into royal kraals under moonlight. Nothing is stable. Chiefs rise and fall in days. Alliances flip overnight. The region is a furnace of fear, ambition, and violence. And into this furnace walks a man who has spent his entire life forged by hardship, Shaka. For years he lived in exile, cast out from the Zulu clan, mocked as illegitimate. He grew up fighting in the service of the powerful Ndwandwe chief Ndwandwe, where he learned real warfare, discipline, formation fighting, and absolute loyalty to a commander. Shaka hardened his body, sharpened his instincts, and studied every weakness of the clans around him. When Ndwandwe is suddenly killed in a political trap, the entire region shakes. Power is up for grabs. Leaders stall. Warriors hesitate. Shaka does not. He moves instantly. While others mourn or negotiate, Shaka slips back toward the Zulu heartland with a small band of elite fighters, men who have followed him through years of brutal campaigning. The Zulu at this time are a tiny tribe caught between stronger neighbors. Their leadership is divided. Their warriors are scattered. But the moment Shaka steps into the royal kraal, everything changes. Rivals scramble to block him. Some rush to claim the throne before he can. It doesn't matter. Shaka annihilates them. Ambitious brothers, rival commanders, and old chiefs fall within days. Anyone who opposes him dies. Anyone uncertain bends the knee. Shaka takes power with a speed that shocks even his enemies. The Zulu suddenly have a leader who doesn't simply want to survive. He wants to dominate, and he knows exactly how to start. Shaka begins transforming the Zulu into a war machine. The first thing he does is change their weapons. Instead of the long, flimsy throwing spears used by generations, he introduces a short stabbing spear, the Ikwa, designed to kill at arm's length. He forces his warriors into close combat, chest against chest, shield against shield, where courage and discipline decide everything. Next, he redesigns the cowhide shield, making it larger, heavier, and capable of hooking an enemy's shield aside to open a killing thrust. Then he abolishes the loose, chaotic style of tribal fighting and organizes the Zulu army into age-based regiments, the Amabatho. Each regiment lives, trains, and fights together. No more farmers who pick up a spear once a year. No more disorganized charges. The Zulu become soldiers. Shaka drills them relentlessly. Warriors run barefoot across thorn fields to harden their feet. They march for days without rest. They perform shield wall drills under the burning sun. Failure means a beating. Cowardice means death. Shaka's discipline is absolute. Many hate it, many fear it, but all obey. The results show fast. Shaka launches his first campaigns almost immediately. The nearby Kiwebe are the first to feel the impact of the new Zulu tactics. Their warriors are overwhelmed by the speed of Shaka's regiments. Villages fall. Cattle are seized. Survivors are absorbed into the Zulu and retrained. No wasted manpower. Every conquered youth becomes a new soldier. Then Shaka destroys the Buthelezi, crushing their warriors with a sweeping horn formation. His army moves like a single organism, center holding, flanks wrapping around, shields slamming forward in perfect rhythm. Other clans collapse even faster. Word spreads that the Zulu no longer fight like anyone else. They strike harder, they move faster, they do not break. As the victories pile up, terrified families flee to join Shaka for protection. His regiments swell. His kraals double in size. Chiefs who once ignored the Zulu now send envoys begging for alliances. But Shaka doesn't want alliances, he wants control. And he takes it, one conquest at a time. Every defeated clan feeds his army with new warriors, new cattle, new land. Every victory increases his prestige. His power grows as fast as his ambition. In just a few years, the Zulu triple in size. What was once a minor tribe starts to look like a kingdom in the making. By the end of 1816, the landscape has changed. Smoke still rises across the hills, but now people know exactly who is behind it. Shaka's regiments move in sweeping lines, stamping the ground in unison as they march. Zulu war horns echo across valleys that once belonged to rival chiefs. The region can feel the shift. The Zulu are no longer a small, scattered people struggling to survive. They are an unstoppable rising force, driven by a single man whose vision is reshaping all of southern Africa. Shaka wastes no time turning his new kingdom into a weapon. His reforms are not announced, they are enforced through action. Warriors wake before dawn and run barefoot through thorn fields until their feet harden like stone. They drill in tight blocks, shields locked, spears low, moving as a single body across the open plains. Shaka walks among them, correcting stances, punishing hesitation, demanding total obedience. Every man must run for miles without water, carry heavy shields at full sprint, and fight until exhaustion threatens to drop him. The Zulu are no longer a loose collection of clans. They are becoming an engineered army. Shaka introduces the technique that will come to define the Zulu way of war, the horns of the bull. He doesn't teach it by lecture. He teaches it by using it in battle. When the Zulu confront the Buthelezi, Shaka forms his warriors into three sections. The center, the chest, holds firm, absorbing the enemy charge. Young warriors circle out wide, becoming the horns, sweeping in to encircle the Buthelezi from both sides. Behind them waits the loins, fresh reserves ready to enter when the moment breaks. The formation hits with terrifying precision. The Buthelezi warriors slam into the Zulu chest, expecting a simple push-and-shove battle, only to find themselves surrounded as the horns close. Panic erupts. The Zulu shields crash forward, spears stabbing in tight, controlled bursts. The Buthelezi break and Shaka drives them into the ground, seizing their cattle and pulling survivors into his ranks. He repeats this pattern with the Q-wave. They attempt to ambush the Zulu lines, but Shaka anticipates it, turning their flank and hitting them with the horns before they can react. Villages burn. Enemy kraals are empty. Young fighters kneel before Shaka, offering loyalty in exchange for life. The Zulu army grows larger with every conquest. Rivals grow desperate. Chiefs who once laughed at the Zulu now form alliances, gathering warriors from distant valleys. They attack at night, hoping to catch Shaka unprepared. They fail. Shaka's scouts operate day and night, slipping through grasslands like shadows. His regiments respond at impossible speed, marching through hills at a pace no other army can match. Enemy attacks break like waves against stone. By 1819, the region is transforming. The Zulu do not simply win battles, they erase opposition. The disciplined Shaka enforces shapes every fight. Warriors hold formation under pressure, shields rising in perfect unison, stabbing spears finding gaps in enemy defenses again and again. The horn encirclements become legendary. Entire armies disappear inside them, crushed before they can escape. Cattle wealth floods into the Zulu Kingdom. Fields expand. New regiments are built. Young men from conquered clans train under Zulu veterans, learning the drills that turn ordinary fighters into something far more dangerous. Chiefs who remain independent speak of Shaka with a mix of fear and respect. They know he is not ruling through luck or sheer brutality. He is winning through military architecture, discipline, and speed. Stories spread across the region, of Zulu warriors running for days without shoes, of shields shining in the sun like walls of iron, of men who can encircle an army twice their size. Shaka himself becomes a symbol, relentless, calculating, unstoppable. By the end of 1819, the Zulu army is the most feared military force in southern Africa, but Shaka knows the true test still lies ahead. Across the northern horizon, a far stronger kingdom watches the rise of the Zulu with growing concern. The Ndwandwe, led by the powerful Zwaide, command a vast territory, enormous armies, and long-standing alliances. They see Shaka not as a nuisance, but as a threat to their supremacy. The region is too small for two ambitious powers. The Zulu have crushed smaller clans easily, but the Ndwandwe are different. They are disciplined, numerous, and determined to prevent Shaka's rise. As Zulu regiments gather around Shaka's command kraal, dust rising in thick spirals above their marching columns, it becomes clear that everything so far has only been preparation. The real war is coming. The storm finally breaks when Zwaide, the powerful king of the Ndwandwe, decides Shaka has grown too strong to ignore. He gathers tens of thousands of warriors, seasoned fighters who have crushed rivals for decades and send them south toward Zululand. The ground shakes under their march. Smoke rises from kraals already burning in their path. Zwaid believes this will be quick. Shaka is talented, yes, but still young, still new to kingship. He expects resistance, not a war of equal strength. He is wrong. Shaka does not wait passively. He sends scouts crawling through tall grass, slipping past Ndwandwe sentries at night. He learns the size of Zwaid's army, the direction of its march, the weakness in its supply chain. When the Ndwandwe cross into Zulu territory, they expect to crush Shaka in a single huge strike. Instead, they find a phantom opponent. Shaka refuses pitched battle at first. He fights like a man shaping the war before fighting the war. Zulu regiments ambush Ndwandwe outriders along riverbanks, spears flashing in the reeds. When the Ndwandwe press forward in numbers, the Zulu vanish into the hills. At night, Shaka's men slip into Ndwandwe encampments, spearing guards, burning food stores, disappearing before sunrise. Ndwandwe supply caravans are wiped out in gorge ambushes. The great army begins to hunger. Zwaid grows frustrated. He orders his divisions to spread out, sweeping the countryside for cattle and grain. But this is exactly what Shaka wants. While the invading army grows thinner and more scattered, the Zulu grow sharper with every skirmish. Shaka burns his own kraals ahead of the enemy, so the Ndwandwe find nothing but ashes and empty fields. Warriors watch from distant ridges as the Ndwandwe wander exhausted, thirsty, and increasingly divided. For months, the war becomes a grinding struggle of small strikes and retreats, a test of endurance, discipline, and intelligence. The Ndwandwe have numbers. The Zulu have strategy. The climax comes in 1819-1820 at the Mhladu's River. After weeks of hunger, Zwaid orders his armies to split into several groups to forage. They spread across the terrain in long, thin tracks, exactly the mistake Shaka has waited for. Before dawn, Zulu horns echo across the river valley. Shaka's regiments move like a single living creature, disciplined, silent until the moment of impact. The chest slams into the nearest Ndwandwe division as they try to form ranks, shields clattering in confusion. Dust explodes into the air. War cries tear across the valley. The horns swing wide, running through brush and dry grass, wrapping around both sides of the Ndwandwe force. Men scream for reinforcements, but the other Ndwandwe divisions are too far away to help. Shaka commits his reserves, the loins, crashing into the enemy's back just as panic takes hold. Spears rise and fall like waves. Shields grind together in tight walls. The Ndwandwe try to break out but find Zulu formations already shifting to block them. It is not just strength, it is choreography. Shaka directs the battle like someone who already knows the ending. By midday, the 1st Ndwandwe division is shattered. Survivors flee toward the river, only to find more Zulu waiting. Those who escape carry terror with them, spreading fear through the remaining divisions. When Shaka redirects his full army toward the next Ndwandwe group, they collapse faster. There is no coordination, no solid ground left. The great Ndwandwe Kingdom, dominant for decades, is broken in a single decisive sweep. Zwaid himself barely escapes with a handful of loyal fighters. His kingdom collapses almost overnight. Tens of thousands flee in every direction, some north to modern Zimbabwe and Zambia, others west into the Highveld, others southeast into coastal forests. These fleeing warriors form new groups, Ngoni, Gaza, and Ndebele, each carving new territories through fire and conquest. This chain reaction becomes known as the Mfeking, the crushing. It reshapes southern Africa. Refugee armies destroy old states and build new ones. Entire populations migrate. Villages vanish. New kingdoms rise from the chaos. And at the center of this upheaval stands Shaka, now the undisputed ruler of Zululand. He does not just win a war, he ends an era and begins another. The Zulu Kingdom, once a small clan ignored by its neighbors, now dominates the region. Shaka walks through the aftermath of Mhladu's knowing no rival remains strong enough to challenge him. His regiments chant victory songs. Captured cattle flood into the Zulu capital. Young warriors boast of their kills. Elders proclaim Shaka the greatest leader the region has ever seen. The Ndwandwe are scattered. The surrounding clans submit. The power vacuum left by the Mfecking gives Shaka a vast canvas to paint his empire. Zululand is now the nucleus of a rising superpower. And for the next decade, Shaka will rule with absolute authority, shaping southern Africa in ways that will echo for generations. Shaka's victories do not end with the battlefield. They become the blueprint for a kingdom that expands through force, discipline, and relentless organization. He takes the shattered remnants of conquered clans and forges them into new regiments, stripping away old loyalties and binding warriors directly to the throne. Young men are gathered into age-based amabutho, drilled endlessly, trained to run for hours without stopping, taught to fight in perfect formation. Massive military kraals rise across Zululand, Ikundla stations designed to house, feed, and control thousands of warriors. Scouts range far beyond the borders, reporting every movement of rival clans. Messengers sprint between kraals carrying orders, warnings, and information that keeps the Zulu war machine moving like a single organism. Shaka builds supply routes for cattle, grain, and weapons, ensuring his armies never stall from hunger. The kingdom's economy expands under this pressure. Ivory traders from the Portuguese ports edge cautiously inland, meeting Zulu envoys who speak with Shaka's authority. Nguni clans from the south send gifts, trying to secure peace. Northern chiefs send diplomats to negotiate boundaries, fearful of provoking the Zulu. But beneath these diplomatic scenes lies constant tension. Shaka's rule is absolute, and he demands obedience without hesitation. Rival chiefs who once submitted willingly now find themselves watched by spies. Anyone suspected of disloyalty, warriors, headmen, even distant relatives, is executed, their families scattered. Forced relocations become common as entire clans are moved to weaken their autonomy. Women, children, and elders are resettled to support military kraals. This is empire building through pressure, not persuasion. Revolts spark on the edges of the kingdom. Rebellious headmen refusing tribute, rival lineages plotting secretly, former allies thinking Shaka is stretching himself too far. But every uprising is crushed with the same ruthless precision that won Ladus. Shaka sends veteran regiments to stamp out resistance, pursuing rebels across hills, forests, and river valleys. Defeated rivals are absorbed or eliminated. Cattle, the core of wealth, flows into the Zulu capital from every conquest. Followed by tribute, ivory, hides, weapons, captives. The Zulu state becomes a funnel directing all resources toward Shaka's growing power. Yet despite the harshness, the system works. By the mid-1820s, Zululand is stable, organized, and feared. Shaka introduces centralized grain storage to survive droughts. He sends envoys to strengthen ties with northern Soto-Tswana kingdoms and to monitor the growing migrations caused by the Mfecking. Traders bring reports of white settlers arriving from the Cape, but for now they are distant concerns. Shaka focuses on consolidating the empire. His warriors conduct lightning campaigns across thousands of square kilometers, seizing territory faster than most kingdoms can map it. New roads form between kraals. The king's personal guard, the Izianganiama, becomes the elite core of his authority. The Zulu Kingdom stretches farther than any Nguni state before it, but with expansion comes strain. The military machine demands constant discipline, constant readiness. Regiments are kept from marriage to maintain focus. Resources are funneled into the army first, everyone else second. The people live in awe of Shaka, admiring his brilliance, fearing his wrath, obeying his commands. Tension simmers beneath the surface. His methods have built something enormous, but also something stretched tight. The empire is powerful, yes, but brutally rigid. And as the late 1820s approach, cracks begin to show, not on the battlefield, but inside the heart of the kingdom he created. By 1827, the empire Shaka built begins to strain under its own weight. Years of non-stop warfare, forced migrations, and rigid military rule collide with drought and famine that sweep across Zululand, drying rivers, killing cattle, and starving villages. As the land suffers, Shaka himself begins to unravel. The king who once forged unity through discipline now governs through fear and grief. His mother Nandi dies and Shaka orders extreme mourning across the kingdom. No planting, no harvesting, no milk for months. Thousands executed for showing insufficient sorrow. The economy collapses. Regiments grow restless. Chiefs whisper in the shadows. Warriors grumble that the king has lost the balance between authority and destruction. Shaka begins executing advisors, accusing loyal servants of treason, and sending spies to hunt imagined conspiracies. Marriage is banned, families forbidden to grow, warriors chained to duty with no future in sight. The Zulu Kingdom feels trapped, breathless, on edge. And in this climate of fear, his half-brothers Ndwandwe and Mhlengana move quietly, carefully, aware that one mistake means death. Mbopa, a high-ranking servant long humiliated by Shaka's rages, becomes their inside weapon. Together they form a pact, not born from ambition alone, but from a belief shared by many Zulu leaders that Shaka's rule will destroy the kingdom if left unchecked. The conspiracy forms in silence, their meetings hidden from Shaka's ever-watchful eyes. They choose a moment when the king is vulnerable, resting in a small kraal near Dukuza, surrounded not by elite guards but by attendants and a handful of warriors. No full regiments, no ceremonial shield bearers. Just the king, exhausted, unpredictable, and unarmed. The day is hot, the air heavy. Shaka steps outside, speaking to messengers about scouting troubles to the north. Ndwandwe and Mhlengana approach casually, pretending loyalty, pretending concern for the kingdom. Mbopa moves behind Shaka. Then the coup strikes fast, decisive, merciless. Mbopa plunges the first spear into Shaka's side. Shaka turns, shocked, reaching for a weapon he does not have. Ndwandwe and Mhlengana close in, stabbing him again and again, driving him to the ground as the greatest warrior king in southern Africa bleeds into the dust. Shaka tries to resist, tries to speak, but the blades fall without pause. There is no ceremony, no final duel, no chance for the king who defeated Zwaide, crushed the Ndwandwe, and built an empire from fire and iron. The assassins bury him quickly in an unmarked pit, hiding the body to prevent any rallying of Shaka loyalists. Word spreads through the kraals like a lightning strike. The king is dead. For a moment the kingdom trembles. Regiments wait, unsure whether to avenge him or accept what his final months had already made clear. Shaka's rule could no longer hold. Ndwandwe wastes no time. He seizes the royal homesteads, purges Shaka's closest commanders, executes rivals, and stabilizes the capital with a mixture of gifts, diplomacy, and fear. Chiefs pledge loyalty. Regiments swear new oaths. The transition, though bloody, holds. A new king sits on the Zulu throne, the age of Shaka, an era of conquest. Transformation, terror, and genius ends not on a battlefield but in the dust of a quiet kraal. And with his death, the Zulu Kingdom steps into a new, uncertain era, no longer driven by the relentless vision of the man who built it, but shaped now by the rulers who must decide how to control the immense power he left behind. When Shaka falls, Ndwandwe inherits not just a throne but a storm. The kingdom is vast, swollen from years of conquest, filled with rival chiefs who bowed to Shaka's power, not his successor's authority. Ndwandwe seizes control fast, executing Shaka's closest commanders, isolating potential threats, rewarding clans willing to support him. But the ground beneath him is unstable. Refugee groups displaced during Shaka's wars return with new alliances, new grudges, and new ambitions. The Mfecking still shakes southern Africa, scattering warrior bands in all directions. And on top of this internal pressure, a new and unfamiliar force appears on the frontier. The Voortrekkers, Boer settlers moving inland after breaking from British rule. They arrive in wagons, armed with long rifles, determined to carve out their own homeland inside a political landscape they barely understand. Ndwandwe, wanting allies but fearing their growing numbers, meets them cautiously. Piet Retief, a Boer leader, negotiates for land. Ndwandwe agrees, but trust collapses immediately. Tensions, misunderstandings, and fears compound. Ndwandwe grows suspicious, believing the Voortrekkers intend to undermine his authority and arm his enemies. The fragile meetings end with treachery. Dingaan lures Retief and his delegation into a ceremonial crawl under the guise of finalizing negotiations, then has them seized and executed. The killings spark an explosion of violence across the frontier. Boer families in remote camps are attacked. Survivors flee south. Panic spreads among the Voortrekkers. Dingaan believes he has struck a decisive blow, but instead he ignites a war he cannot control. The Voortrekkers regroup under leaders like Andries Pretorius, forming tight mobile columns armed with muzzle-loading rifles and organized with military precision. Dingaan prepares massed Zulu regiments to crush them. The stage is set for one of the most iconic battles in South African history, the Battle of Blood River, December 1838. At dawn, thousands of Zulu warriors advance in the classic bullhorn formation, surrounding the Boer laager, wagons chained into a defensive circle. The Zulu expect victory through sheer numbers and raw speed, but rifles and disciplined volley fire change everything. Every Zulu charge slams into a wall of bullets. The river turns red, a scene the Voortrekkers will remember for generations. The Zulu retreat, leaving Dingaan's legitimacy shattered. Chiefs question him, regiments doubt him, and then his own brother Mpande steps forward as a challenger. Unlike Shaka and Dingaan, Mpande is not known as a great warrior, but he is clever, patient, and backed by powerful clans tired of Dingaan's instability. The Voortrekkers, seeking an ally against Dingaan, support Mpande with weapons and reinforcements. Suddenly, the kingdom divides. Civil war erupts across Zululand. Dingaan struggles to rally the same absolute loyalty Shaka commanded. Campaigns drag on, with kraals burning, regiments switching sides, and the Zulu heartland ripping itself apart. Mpande moves steadily, cautiously, pausing when necessary, advancing when Dingaan weakens. The momentum becomes impossible to ignore. By 1840, Pretorius and Mpande march together toward Dingaan's strongholds. Regiments defect, chiefs defect. Dingaan sees the tide turning and attempts one final retreat north toward the Swazi frontier, hoping to rebuild. But he never gets the chance. Betrayed and killed by local enemies, Dingaan's era ends not with a final battle but with a lonely death in exile, the same fate he once dealt to Shaka. Mpande is crowned king of the Zulu. Stability returns. Trade resumes. Regiments reorganize. The era of conquest, chaos, and sweeping transformations closes. A new chapter begins, one of cautious diplomacy, internal consolidation, and facing European encroachment that grows year by year. And so the story settles into reflection. Shaka reshaped southern Africa, forging the most feared indigenous army of the 19th century. His rise unleashed migrations, wars, and social revolutions across thousands of kilometers. From 1816 to 1840, the Zulu rose from a tiny clan on the White Umfolozi River to a kingdom that dominated the southern continent. It was an age of iron, discipline, and unstoppable ambition, and though Shaka died, the nation he built endured.